do we have any questions, Jens, from the panelists, from the attendees? And we might quickly cover those and then sign off.
Yeah, well, we have a really great question that actually touches right on what Stephanie was addressing in regards to those changes that we had to make in 2020, obviously enforced on us by restrictions, but now they seem to sort of point into a very different direction of doing business altogether. And Victor actually put it in a very succinct and I think a great way. Is there a better normal rather than a return to normal? And I think from what Stephanie said, we could pass it on to the other panelists. What do you see as the better future normal? What are the changes that will stay, that are sustainable, that are important, that have been enforced on us to some degree this year? So is there a better normal rather than a return to normal?
Open to the panel.
I'm already off mute, so quickly. I mean, a better normal is clearly lower carbon. We really are so far behind where we need to be in addressing climate change. That involves making cities greener, more livable. And I think as we come out of the pandemic, mindful of my caution around predictions, but you can see there is a grasping of people to reconnect, and I think anything that we can do to try to seize on that and foster a greater sense of community at a local level, we'll see a better normal going forward.
Any other contributions, panel?
Yeah, happy to have a thought there. I think as leaders, we have an obligation to not let it go back. So I put that challenge to everybody as a leader in an organisation. If we just let it go back to what it was, we're disservicing everybody in the community. So for me, it's been really difficult to work from home. I've been sitting in this seat since March. But there's been amazing relationships that I've developed with my people, albeit through a screen. But the level of interest you have in people, the level of conversation, the level of compassion, empathy and understanding you build when you all are in something together, you're all equal, we owe it to ourselves as leaders not to go back. So I really, that's something I'm very passionate about and something that we will be taking forward in how we work.
Thank you. Other panelists?
I'll make one comment. I think that an unintended consequence of working remotely is that you find out who is and isn't adding value in your organisation. It's much harder to hide. And I think we're going to see much smaller organisations come out as a result.
Yeah, this interconnectivity, there's people will always worry about people working from home and will they be doing the right thing, but this has actually had the opposite effect of actually demonstrating what we are doing. Good observation, Carl, brilliant. Ben, any final comments?
Look, I agree with Carl. It's quite an interesting phenomenon. You can't hide. I think that's a big learning point. Technology, we hear a lot, technology. But we're sitting here using technology to talk to one another. I think many of the technology advances for both on the sales and procurement side will be connectivity to our customers and also to our suppliers, and that that's what I see the big advantage. So if we do have smaller teams, it will be because we can operate more efficiently, and I think that's something that is to look forward to. That's my take on it.
Well, after 23 years, we've actually, we obviously been working remotely too since March, like Alison said, but we don't have a commercial property anymore. We're all set up remotely, and for the foreseeable future, this is how we're going to operate, and we're working globally. We're winning contracts internationally and things like that. It's been actually really liberating, just from a mind space perspective, to do this, and how it actually breaks down literal borders and boundaries. So it is a very interesting concept to have a look at. Stephanie, any comments from you about a better normal?
I definitely agree that we do have an obligation to make sure it doesn't go backwards. I think there's a lot of opportunity that's come out of, even thinking about how we're working today. There are better ways to do what we're doing, and it's the small things that will ladder up to bigger ones. We're very similar. We've taken our traditional classroom training and L&D program into MS Teams, and it's created a much greater way for our whole sales team across the country to collaborate and share best practice. And the reward they're getting from that is incredible, from one small change that we could have done before the pandemic, to be honest. But that small change has led to more ideas. And I think if you can keep fostering that, you will always move forward. I'm very lucky. I work for a company who has a purpose that is around a better way. So that naturally stems, we're always moving forward. So I think we need to have that. We need to have those mantras in the way in which we're leading to get people to think differently. You're going to be seeing that anyway as we start to see different groups of people come together when you're bringing your communities into what you do. Diverse thinking will set that out, but I don't think we're going backwards at all. I think the way we want to live, I think the way we want to work, I think the way we want to engage with people, we've been thrust into the change and we need to embrace it.
And human beings demonstrate that they can adapt very quickly.
And we can, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think this is why there's amazing opportunity. Lots emerging through the cracks of what has been obviously a tragic situation with the pandemic, but there's opportunity. Jens, do we have any final questions before we finish for the morning? Any other?
Sorry, we have a question from Fiona. How would you convince a customer to drive key purpose indicators?
Okay. Who'd want to tackle that one?
I saw that and I was really hoping you didn't ask that one, Jens.
The key purpose indicator.
Well, I think the first thing is you should be, if you're not asking your customers what's important to understand it from the lens outside of a business, then you're not going to be able to understand that. So, you know, if you've got really clear strategies around how you want to run your business, and let's use an example of, it's about setting clear standards around service, and you're purposeful about that, then you measure that. So I think it's probably looking at the lens of, is this the right thing for the communities that I'm servicing, the customers that I'm servicing, the employees, looking at it with a broad spectrum. But I would definitely be thinking differently about how you're setting up those measures. As I said, it's more than just leading with, with profit metrics. This is, companies with sustainable strategies, companies with corporate governance. They're all the things that would ladder up to that as well. So I think it's elevating that and making sure that people see that that's just as important as achieving business profits.
I'll just give you an example. One of our clients, when we were looking at their whole purpose and their go-to-market strategy, safety became the epicenter. And their safety audits, when they were looking at issues around their production, went from 1 in 3,000 faults to 1 in 300,000 faults. I mean, that's a huge change. So everyone, when they're thinking around their business, was around safety. Another organisation, they've worked out that their purpose with what they do, the central virtue is dignity. How they treat their customers, their partners, their staff with dignity. And I think this is what's very interesting when we start to bring those sorts of things to the fore, that guides and directs our behaviours and our habits and our intentions. So I think, this leading with purpose. And if, again, we can't be tokenistic. There's enough people out there who've put up, we're customer centric, and the pandemic has exposed they're anything but customer centric. So we want to be careful about what we want to focus on, but then live it. And then that becomes part of that lived experience we have with our customers. So it is more than just a transaction, more than just, making profit, making a sale. It's moving well or truly beyond that. And I think it's very exciting actually for us all. Jens, anything more before we finish?
I was happy to make a comment on that as well.
No, go ahead. Thank you.
We just had our board strategy day yesterday and reviewed our KPIs for our strategic plan. So it's a very topical discussion, and we're going to radically change our KPIs. But I think if you want to try and measure purpose, it has to start with your ultimate vision, and ours is really clear, an equitable zero carbon society. So that's what we're about. All of our objectives in our strategic plan deliver on our vision, and then every KPI or every objective has a corresponding KPI. So we're very clear, and then nothing gets put through in the business plan that doesn't align to that.
Yeah.
But definitely we have changed our KPIs this year to be far more purposeful. Again, I found that our KPIs, the language was too performance orientated. So we had a great discussion with the board yesterday. I'll have the new strategic plan out probably by about February, but it is a very different metric around organisational health, valued partnerships, demonstrating leadership, and a few others. So you have to do that, but I also have to bring the customer voice into that. So if anyone's designing their strategy and their KPIs without a customer reviewing that and having input before you take it off to the board, I think you're missing a significant opportunity. So I review my strategy every year with the board. This year, we've made all of our KPIs change, get sharper and more purposeful.
We often encourage you, right, Alison, to actually at your board meetings, virtual or otherwise, why don't you have a spare chair for your customers, a spare chair for your suppliers and partners, and dare I say a spare chair for the environment. And that would be very interesting in terms of being able to incorporate those stakeholders into our plans moving forward. So, Jens, any final questions?
There's an interesting question that came in addition to mentioning of recycling solar panels, manufacturing electric vehicles, etc. Is there something large foreign countries have shown interest in bringing to our shores? I think pointing at, what could Australia do to attract international interest in something we could do here? And whether you have an answer or not, I'll leave it to you. But if you got insights, if you got anything there, I think that will be an interesting one to look at.
I've got one as a suggestion. So if I just think about electric vehicles, how do we bring that to market here? If a number of organisations all collaborated on a bulk buy procurement strategy, we would get a range of different, more modern electric vehicles into this market and drive massive transformation. So it's about organisations collaborating on a procurement strategy to do a bulk buy of electric vehicles. It'll open up the market, we'll get the newer models, and that's the type of collaboration that we need to have.
Okay, Ben, you're up for that, okay? As our resident procurement specialist here. Lovely. Okay, Jens, anything else?
Sorry, there seems to be a question from Rebecca, but I can't see it. Astrid, can you jump in and read it to us? I can't seem to find it.
While Astrid's having a look, maybe we could sort of summarise everything about what makes us optimistic about the future. One thing that's making you optimistic about the future, panellists? Carl, I think you already mentioned something, so do you want to just reiterate that?
I'm going to be very political and say President Biden.
Okay, not a problem. Toby, what makes you optimistic?
The world is in a challenging place right now, but the world has always been in challenging places and had challenging times, and we have to date always got through it, and we will get through it again. And I think, as all the other panelists and hopefully I have also mentioned, there are a number of things from this challenging moment that actually are causes for optimism in terms of new ways of connecting, purpose-driven leadership, and so on.
Thank you. Steph, your one thing that's making you optimistic?
Yeah, I agree with Toby. I think, I see change and challenges as opportunities. So I think the mindset of the lens of which you look at things is the first start of deciding the way in which, optimism works for you. And I think being able to see through that, to see through whatever those challenges and or opportunities are, and look for the why. And I find that works really well for me. Why is this happening? Why is that not working anymore? What could it be? And that, balancing, and bringing in this level of curiosity. Because when you start looking at things with a curious mindset, you automatically go into a positive place. I think the other thing to be mindful of is, there's always going to be a lot of change. There's always going to be a lot of uncertainty. There's always going to be complexity. How you manage your energy and how you get energy and how you exert your energy is really important. And I think we've all learnt that in the last 12 months in particular. The rise of mental health that's coming through, wellbeing is testament to that. So being really conscious of that actually change the way in which you're thinking about how you see the world and how you see, you know, life for you personally as well.
Thanks, Steph. Ben, what makes you optimistic?
Look, I think it's a whole summary of everything we've talked on today. The change is afoot. Change is always a good thing in my book. The fact that, you know, we're now working virtually also gives us time to reflect and focus. So the focus on what we really do and deliver to our customers is what's optimistic for us moving forward.
Lovely. Alison?
Yeah, I think it's people, purpose and pride. And I wanted to just talk about pride. We are a very proud nation. I can guarantee that all of us from Victoria are feeling very proud that 26 days today of 0 cases. But if I look back at this year, we've even forgotten how we started. You know, COVID wasn't the first reason we put on a face mask. Actually, from the smoke that was in our air, everyone downloaded an app around pollution and smoke. We started wearing face masks in January. We then went through massive implications of the bushfires to nature, to our environment, to our economy. We didn't even have a chance to rebuild and we went into COVID. So as people look back and go into 2021, I hope every person is filled with pride about getting through that, but looking at what we can do as a community to come together and say hello to people on the street, you know, connection with people, purpose, local community and pride. That's my optimism.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, let's round it up. I want to thank our panelists for today. Thank you so much for your enriching contribution. It's been far-reaching and really wonderful. Thank you to everyone who attended, who was part of this community. Sorry we had to wait 9 months to actually bring it to you, but here we are. I also want to thank my team, particularly Astrid. She was the one that pulled this together in very short space of time. She was the one that actually got us all to the table today. So Astrid, thank you so much. And to Jens and Jobst, who we worked together with, you know, we wanted to pull this together to bring something that was deep and rich and meaningful, but purposeful and optimistic moving forward. So before we finish, I want to make sure to remind you that we are currently producing the 2021 Sales Trends Report, which is titled, ironically, The Rebuild, and which should be ready for release in mid to late December. So I wish you all well, go well, and here's to selling better now and sustainably into the future. Thank you very much.